My name is Layla Hassan, and the first thing you need to know about me is that I learned to read by studying the warning labels on cleaning products. My mother kept them under the sink in a plastic crate. Bleach, ammonia, floor stripper, drain cleaner. She worked nights at an office building downtown and sometimes brought me along when the babysitter canceled, which was often. I would sit under the janitor's cart with a flashlight and sound out the words on each bottle, while she mopped hallways that reflected her face back at her like dark mirrors. Caution, corrosive, do not mix with. I didn't know what corrosive meant. I knew it meant something serious. I knew the words mattered. That's how I learned that words on a page could be the difference between safe and dangerous, between knowing and not knowing, between surviving something and not. My mother, Fatima Hassan, came to Detroit from Cairo at 22 with $40, a suitcase held shut with a belt, and a cousin's address written on a napkin. By the time I was born, she had the apartment above the laundromat, 3 jobs, and a stubbornness so deep it had become its own kind of religion. She never complained, not once, not about the cold that came through the window frames every January, not about the downstairs neighbor's music, not about the fact that she hadn't seen her family in 11 years, because plane tickets cost more than a month of rent. What she did instead was point. She pointed at my report cards like they were proof of something. She pointed at the evening news when a doctor appeared. She pointed at the university billboards on I-94 every single time we drove past them, which was every Sunday, on the way to the grocery store. And she never once said that could be you, because she didn't say things like that. She just pointed, and I understood. By the time I was 12, I had turned her pointing into a plan. Pre-med, University of Michigan. Scholarship, doctor. I wrote it on a sticky note in black marker and pressed it to the bathroom mirror, where I would see it every morning between washing my face and brushing my teeth. The sticky note yellowed over the years. The corners curled. I never took it down. At 17, the scholarship letter came. My mother sat at the kitchen table and read it 4 times. Then she made tea she didn't drink. Then she went to the bathroom and I heard her crying. Not the quiet kind she did late at night when she thought I was asleep, but the loud, chest-deep kind that sounds almost exactly like laughing. When she came out, her face was red, and her eyes were bright, and she held me with both arms and said into my hair in Arabic, "I always knew. I always knew. I always knew." What neither of us knew was that a scholarship covers tuition, not the $400 textbooks, not the $800 monthly rent for the cheapest apartment within 20 miles of campus, not the food, the bus pass, the winter coat I needed because the one I owned had a broken zipper, and Ann Arbor was a different kind of cold than Detroit, and not the emergency that was already moving toward us through the dark, quiet and certain, the way serious things always are. 3 weeks into my first semester, my mother collapsed behind the counter of the laundromat at 9 in the morning. A customer found her. I got the call during organic chemistry, in a lecture hall full of 200 people, and I walked out of that building into the October cold, and I ran. She had a stroke, left side. She survived, but the woman who came home from the hospital 3 weeks later moved differently, spoke differently, looked at me sometimes with an expression I had never seen on her face before, something uncertain and searching, like she was trying to remember a word in a language she used to know. I moved back to the apartment above the laundromat. I told myself it was temporary,